Hello, Sim Gamers, and welcome to the next episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program 2 for Science. We're going to pop into Mission Control, as we often do, to find out what's coming up. And we are in a phase in our career where it is time to go interplanetary. That means heading to Duna, possibly escaping Kerbin. Do we bother taking a stop at geostationary orbit? We could put a satellite there, maybe, in an extra feature or something. Are there fuel stations in space? Okay, we need to read a whole bunch of this stuff. A new signal has been detected on the surface of Duna. We don't know why or how. The only answer is to keep following the trail. Salutations, Director. It's, apologies. I have a terrible headache. I've been told to give up coffee for a month. Newton shouted, Dr. Carey can't have coffee for a month or she'll go boom! In the control room. Now the staff are guarding the coffee machines for me, which is where you come in. Your objective is to acquire me Dr. Carey Jackson Kerman's 15 pounds of roasted fine ground coffee beans. Maybe on a launch pad too, in 20 minutes. You may not know this about me, but I used to be... Wait. We just got a new mysterious signal. It's from the planet Duna. Alas, missions take priority over coffee. Your new objective is to find the source of the mysterious signal on the surface of Duna. Duna is the fourth planet in the Kerbal system. It's a little bigger than the Mun, and has its very own moon, Ike. On the surface, you'll find red sands as far as the eye can see. I think there may be water ice at the poles, but you'll need to collect some science for us to be sure. Duna has a very thin atmosphere. Parachutes will slow you down a little bit, but they won't be enough to land safely. To get to Duna, you're going to need a large, multi-stage rocket with plenty of fuel. Use the trip planner in the vehicle assembly building to make sure you have enough Delta V to make the whole trip. You'll also need to time your departure so that the positions of Kerbin and Duna are correct. You'll want to time warp until Kerbin and Duna are 45 degrees apart, with Duna in the lead. Just whip out your protractor and place Kerbal and Kerbin at the baseline. If you don't have a protractor, I can recommend my top 5. The middle stage of your rocket must be able to get from Kerbin to Duna and then decelerate to achieve Duna orbit. If you fly within 50 kilometers of Duna's surface, you'll be in its thin atmosphere. Dipping into that atmosphere will slow down your vessel, allowing you to save fuel. This is called aerobraking, but be careful. As you've learned on Kerbin, atmospheric entry creates heat, so you'll want to pack some heat protection. If you'd like to some real-world practice, feel free to try aerobraking above Kerbin. Just remember that you'll be coming in really hot when you arrive at Duna. Ow, moving my face hurts my brain. We can discuss that other thing later. Until then, I'll be here leaning on this cool counter. Interplanetary time it is. We're going to pick up this one along the way. So we're going to track this mission, obviously. Hi, Director. The Rokia Incorporated Quality Assurance Department has discovered that the fine print of their ladders may only shield them from liability when their ladders are used within Kerbin's gravity. They've asked us to take one of their ladders outside the environment to verify its safety. That means flying outside of Kerbin's gravitational sphere of influence and orbiting Kerbal, our sun. Hopefully, the ladder will keep being a ladder so we can all go home. All we need to do is exit our sphere of influence. Well, that should be easy enough. Little chonker, we're not going to do geostationary orbit. This is an excellent bonus feature episode. Using a vehicle with a probe core orbit Kerbin at a geostationary orbit. Oh, hi, Director. Did you see that lady with the asymmetrical bob and decorative pearl-studded monocle? Well, she's the CEO of Rockomax conglomerate. She's more than a fashion icon. She wants to sponsor the first fuel station in space for a future where space is for everyone. A splendid idea, so pick a nice low orbit and get a dockable fuel tank up there. Oh, and tell Newton to come collect these suitcases of money. So they want a X264 Methalox fuel tank and a docking port parked in low Kerbin orbit. Then we have Kerbwide Tour, Cappy Rock. Congrats, you've won the Sean's Cannery sweepstakes. You and an original Sean's Cannery can will tour the first of 2 of Kerbin's most beautiful landmarks. Are you lucky? Sean's cannery is not responsible for any incidents that occur while on tour. All touring Kerbals must be accompanied by a Sean's cannery can. Launch a vessel with a lander can and perform a crew observation at Cappy Rock. So there's some fun local stuff to do, perhaps, to get some additional science. But the only missions we care about right now are leaving Kerbin orbit. Clamps are released and the mainsails are on their way. This has about 1.5 Gs of vertical thrust. And I know the upper stage is a little bit lighter on the actual thrust it has. These aerodynamic surfaces really are doing a great job. And booster separation. We're going to kick on these engines in 1. Ignition. All right, that's good enough for me. We are going to get rid of this cowl. Now, because we have all this thrust available on the mainsail, I'm going to use it. We've got Duna set as our target. The first thing we need to do in this case is leave Kerbin's sphere of influence. And we do that by creating a maneuver plan here. Pulling out a bunch of prograde thrust. This gets us past orbiting the Mun. This gets us past Minmus, and there we go. We're coming up on the sunset side of the planet here for our Kerbin ejection burn. And we're going to do that in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Three, 2, 1, cutoff. We are leaving Kerbin's sphere of influence, everybody. Let's go ahead and get ourselves configured for the rest of our orbital flight. So that means decouple the main stage, activate the nuclear engine. Extraction is good. Let's extend our solar panels and our communications array. It's official, Sim Gamers. We are in deep space. Here's Kerbin. Here's our ship. Currently facing its solar panels towards the sun, toward Kerbal. Now we need to plan ourselves a Duna injection burn. We've already got some velocity going towards there, and man, our orbital plane is beautiful. We had no plane change issues. So I've got Duna set up as my target, and just like we did for going anywhere else, Minmus or the Mun, we're just looking for an intercept and using our tools here. We can see that, you know, our distance is actually quite far away with this setup. Oops, thing goes spinning around. With this setup. So this is where our vehicle is, this is where Duna is, which means that this burn is happening too early. We want to sort of crank it out more like that, maybe. And these intercepts are starting to look pretty good. So I'm just adding a little bit of prograde and then changing the position. And I keep doing that until I see basically this right here. The Duna periapsis, which is currently at 45,000 kilometers if I do that burn perfectly. Just inside of Duna's sphere of influence. And that's all I really need to begin with, because the rest of the fine-tuning is going to happen out here at our mid-course correction. We have a 3-minute long burn here, and that's happening in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Shut down in 4, 3, 2, 1, shutdown. Looking at these as straight lines, it appears to be that I want to face toward the sun. We have plenty of delta V, so we're going to experiment a little bit here. Yes. That is exactly what I want. Spending a very little bit of delta V out of our 1400 that we have. To bring this periapsis closer to Duna. And then we're going to go orbit normal in a bit. What happened? There we go. This encounter is looking really good. Get ourselves back to radial in. And if we can bring this periapsis down to basically what our orbital station would be, more or less. Be an interesting little flyby of Ike. We're 94 kilometers, but I do know that in order to maximize my chance of getting where I want to go, I need a highly polarized orbit. So I'm actually going to change that like so. And then change this once again. So we're just using similar skills to what we used when we were getting close to Minmus. We're just doing it sufficiently far outside of the sphere of influence that a very little bit of thrust has a large impact on our approach. And that's pretty much a polar orbit right there. And the rest of this we can adjust when we get into Duna's sphere of influence. Coming up on Duna orbital insertion. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Burn complete. It may seem like I've spent a lot of Delta V. But we have to remember that this ship is about to get a whole lot lighter. This orbit right here is good enough. Okay. I'm nervous. Okay, we're going to go ahead and detach. And swap over to Bob's craft. Stack separator gets thrown out of the way. You go retrograde. I'm just going to go ahead and let myself coast a little bit further to get nice and clear. Actually, this is fine. The two engines I want are enabled. Just a little bit of retrograde thrust. Just the tiniest bit. Of course, this stage isn't showing our Delta V because staging always causes that kind of thing to happen. But if we want to descend over the polar ice cap to the ground, about here is where we're going to do it. Okay, we are 15 seconds away from this burn. We're going to decelerate and be deorbiting over the ice caps in 3, 2, 1, engage. So we've arrived at the upper atmosphere, have some more science to collect here. As we come over the polar ice cap, I'm reminded of a comment someone made on like episode 2 about my parachutes. So I went ahead and separated them out because I want to be able to trigger the parachutes at the right time for the best use of them. And as you can see, I have set my orbit to the back edge of this crater, mainly because I imagine the atmospheric braking of Duna is going to be quite small. Oh, interesting. We're aerobraking. We're naturally aerobraking. We don't even need to apply any control input. But that realistically does mean that we can't change our trajectory much at this point. If I pop out the drogues, that does help slow me down. We can just go ahead and get rid of the that other stage there, our deceleration stage. Now the question is, does this stage have enough fuel realistically to just fly over there? Because if it does, that would be the thing to do. Let's go ahead and see if we can't enter a hover. Get oriented the way that we want to. And fly over to where we want to go. We're only about 2 kilometers away, and it's a good thing I brought all this fuel in this stage. Because we're really just using it as a helicopter right now. Last little bit to go. Still says I have like 1600 delta V in this stage, which is amazing to me. Let's go ahead and get ourselves vertical thrust a little bit. Kick off. Stage. Landing gear. What do we have? For new science on Duna. Detailed measurement of the environment. Cruise assessment, detailed measurement, detailed measurement. Cruise assessment, detailed measurement, detailed measurement. Spectral analysis shows that Duna's thin atmosphere of carbon dioxide reflects sunlight differently than Kerbin's. That is why the sky is such a beautiful pink. The atmosphere is 94% carbon dioxide, 4% nitrogen, 2% argon, and it has traces of oxygen, carbon monoxide, water, methane, and other gases. Yes, I understand we don't have any power due to a lack of sun exposure. This is premium grade sand castle sand is what he says, and we have deserts like this back on home, only they are not as red. The environmental samples, the mystery goo has squashed itself into a tube shape and is prowling around this container, growling. Okay. If you're wondering where the build for this episode is, I didn't post it because we end up leaving Bill stranded on Duna. The lander didn't have enough Delta V to get back into orbit. If you click on the card in the upper right hand corner, you'll see a rescue mission where we build a much better mission. We do have some experiments that can be ran by getting outside, so we're going to go ahead and send Bill on his mission to do just that. Bill's got a couple of exciting things to do. Should have been Bob. And I'm a little surprised, honestly, that was Bill. But we'll go ahead and get our ground sample here. And, of course, plant our flag. Bill was here on our first interplanetary voyage. Now we have a monument to go check out. These rocks are covered in a fine layer of dust, measuring several millimeters thick in spots. This area may be affected by dust storms. Duna's soil holds nutrients such as sodium, potassium, chloride, and magnesium. I wonder what we could grow here. While this monument looks like a tree, it is the same volcanic basalt found in much of Duna. We carefully scraped some samples from the monument's ornaments, and the test verified they are gold and turquoise. Gold and turquoise are not native to Duna. Alright, it's time to jog back to base camp. With our science in tow, we're only really halfway through the mission. Now we have to recover our vessel, or return to orbit. That long shadow was really cool. So we have to return to orbit, rendezvous with our current ship. Transfer crew and make our way back with what we have. Well, here's the good news, sim gamers. We've managed to complete this mission and get a bunch of science along the way. In fact, we can transmit that science. But here's the bad news. This ship does not have enough Delta V to reach orbit. So we have set up a rescue situation for Bill Kerbin. I am going to transmit whatever information I can. Environmental data can be transmitted. Crew observations can be transmitted. This environment data can be transmitted. This surface sample data can be transmitted. So here we are with the third prize. Once again, because we got rid of the lander stage, we have a whole bunch of a whole bunch of Delta V, or a bunch more Delta V available than we thought we had before. So after looking online, I found the best departure window apparently from Kerbin back to Duna is around 68 degrees, negative 68 degrees, where Kerbin is 68 degrees behind Duna. And that's what I've set up here. So our Kerbals have been hanging around for a little while eating snacks. And all we really want to do with third prize number 2 is find the right time to do a prograde burn. Probably right here. Yes, that's correct. Because we want to be departing. We want to basically be departing with Duna leaving us behind. Duna leaving us behind. So I'm not going to worry about a maneuver node or anything like this. This ship should have plenty of Delta V to do this. And here we go. So once again, we're seeing our target is ahead of where Kerbin's going to be. So if we do something like this, we get an encounter. Hey, that's pretty good. 2, 1, ignition. I'm just going to go ahead and burn this until I get the least distance I can. Right now, since it's going to be the most efficient time to do that. Okay, here's a chance for mid-course correction. I can see that we're coming in high, so if I do orbit anti-normal, that should bring this down, and we're doing it far enough out where it's going to use, hopefully, very little Delta V. In fact, can I create a new maneuver point to just change this? Yes, I can. Okay. I want to bring this down to essentially re-entry. It's going to take some precise control to get there. But we should be up to the task. 35 kilometers. So since that burn is so close, allegedly, supposedly, if I face that direction and kick off a burn using just a little delta V, we'll be able to fine-tune our periapsis to 35 kilometers along the equator. Coming in. All right. So for this final maneuver, I am actually going radial out. Normally it would be like, well, don't do that. That's just going to increase your, you're going to fly by and not leave. Well, what I want to do is I actually want to get rid of as much orbital velocity as I can. So I want to spend about 100 delta V just in ditching orbital velocity. It's not a lot, but every little bit's going to count when it comes to re-entry. In fact, I can probably crank this up to 150 to get rid of. And then tune my direction to continue aiming for that. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and expend all of our fuel. No, we're going to want a little bit. Just in case. I'll keep like 20 delta V. For some corrections and stuff. Okay. Now we tune this so that we're aiming for 35 kilometers out of the atmosphere, and that should put us at a lovely re-entry angle to capitalize on what we can from Duna to both complete our missions and also potentially have what we need to plan a rescue mission. All right, that's the burn. Our final burn using the rest of the delta V to get home. Here we go, Sim Gamers. We are just 17 seconds away from the final burn to bring the second prize home with Jebediah and Valentina. Bill is taking extra laps on Duna. 2, 1, ignition. We are coming up on re-entry interface just now. Let's go ahead and decouple. Get retrograde. And let aerodynamics do the rest for us. Coming up on splashdown. Bingo. And I'm going to have to take a look back through my footage to see if I just misplanned the ascent stage of Duna. It's entirely possible. But we'll go take a look at mission control here in a bit and see what is up with this mission. A new signal has been detected on the surface of Duna. We can submit that. Director, it's great to see you. You keep astounding us, building complex rocket designs, directing the flights, remembering that it was my birthday. Thank you for the pen, by the way. Classy move. The image of this new monument suggests we've barely scratched the surface. Is it some sort of family tree? There's a Kerbal on it, for one thing, as well as another squid-faced being. But there are other branches too. What used to be there? And that crown. Gorgeous. As expected, the monument is emitting a new signal that we'll need to decode. For now, I'd like to share a memo from the Institute of Old Stuff. The lead researcher is my old classmate, Levy. We only received a stern, real science only memo from the Kerbal Astronomical Society, by the way. Their loss. I haven't read Levy's memo yet. I thought it would be exciting to read it together. I have more patience since I quit drinking coffee. These days, I drink coffee-flavored water. I mean decaf. But back to the memo. The memo reads as follows. My dearest Carrie, it seems fate and destiny have brought us together again. I have regretted not telling you how I felt for all these years. How strangely emotionally charged. But let's get to the good part. Here we are. We are able to locate a reference from a discontinued cereal brand called Kerbin. Supposedly, it was too salty. Kerbina was the cereal's mascot, and she was spun into a middling children's show. In episode 1, the cereal goddess, Kerbina, is born as a beam of light into the dark depths of the ocean. And one day, 2 children appear. Kerbina takes these little Kerbals on ocean adventures, but she warns them that going on land means she can't protect them. Eventually, the children wander off to explore the land, never to be seen again. The rest of the season is all product placements. Well, director, should I find a box of Kerbinos? I've never had salty cereal before. I'm just going to redact the less relevant parts of the memo. Ah, Levy, sweet guy. Very bad at staying on task. Get some rest, director. I think we're very close to a massive breakthrough. We found the source of the mysterious signal on the surface of Duna, getting us 2,000 science. We also managed to escape Kerbin. Yes, so glad you're back. The crew must have a glorious tan. Well, from the front anyway. At least the ladder survived. Maybe we should have sent up a pod filled with corn kernels. Sun-roasted popcorn could be our official snack. I'll go butter up the snack department. While I do that, can you get rid of the quality assistance manager? He keeps walking around and judging all of our ladders. I've asked him to leave several times, but he just gets this distant look in his eyes and says, they need me. Who are they? The ladders? Thanks, science. And lastly, fuel stations. You did that in record time. Did you notice my new glasses? They're the same shape and look as my old ones, but more expensive. I hope the Rockomax CEO comes by again. She seems like the type to notice the little things. Speaking of little things, there was a lot of fine print that legal didn't read within our Rockomax contract. Of course, you know my eyesight is terrible. The fuel station is in orbit now, so there's no backing out. What does in perpetuity mean anyway? I guess I got credit for a mission I didn't do. But that's cool, because we have lots of new missions and stuff to collect, and 3,026 science to spend, which we'll take care of in the next episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program 2 for science! Until then, I'm Sim Gamer.